Behind the Dream with Pierce Woodward. First episode. I have been talking about this podcast for probably 6 months continuously. Feels so good to finally be doing it. I'm so excited. If you are an aspiring entrepreneur, if you are wanting to be a world traveler, if you are wanting to quit your job and start something that you never thought you could, this podcast is for you. I'm going to be interviewing people once a week, talking about them, chasing their dream, what they did to accomplish their dream, whether that be, they're a pro surfer or they are a multi-million-dollar company owner, investor, literally everything. I'm hoping to have people talk about the crypto market. I'm hoping to have people come on and talk about starting a business. People talk about how they grew on social media. So literally, if you want some insane knowledge from people that know a ton of different markets and different things, I'm going to be talking about this all the time in this podcast weekly. So let's get into it. This is the first episode ever. Truth be told, we started filming and I had no idea what I wanted to talk about on this podcast. So I'm trying to create as much value as I can. And I wanted to start off with talking about my story and kind of get to know me, because I post a ton of stuff on social media. If you're watching this podcast, it's probably because you saw me post about it on Instagram or on TikTok. So about me to start off, because I don't share a ton of my life on social media a ton, but I've had a crazy story. So sophomore year of high school, and I decided to download TikTok. And mind you, this is back when TikTok was cringe. If you knew someone that did TikTok, you were a loser. And I started posting whack videos. I will not undermine that. They were really weird. If you're a day one, which I don't think anyone here is, I posted some weird content. And as I kept going with it, about 6 months, I had about 200,000 followers. And mind you, again, this is not when social media or not when TikTok was big. And everyone was making fun of me. I just did not feel like myself. And so I deleted the whole app, actually. And then about 6 months later, me and my family decided we were going to sell everything and go travel the world. And so junior year of high school, I dropped out of high school, left to go to Florida with my family. We rented an Airbnb. And then from the Airbnb, we were going to go travel from place to place. Visited the British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. We took a cruise out of Puerto Rico. Literally a ton of places down that coast. And it was phenomenal. Super excited. I started posting on social media again. I felt like the best state of my entire life that I've ever been in. And then COVID hit while we were in Puerto Rico. And I didn't understand it, as most people did. I was just kind of confused. I was like, what do you mean there's this virus? We need to head back to Florida? Super weird. So then we headed back to Florida and we got there, and then literally in 1 week from when we flew from Puerto Rico to Florida, the airports shut down. And we were like, what the hell? We can't even go back to Utah. We can't go back home. We had flights booked out to Paris the next week. At that point, we were like, hey, well, let's just stay in Florida. We'll just book a house for, say, 6 months. That we only thought COVID was going to last 6 months. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get crazy into social media because I did not have any friends in Florida. This is one huge tip. Focus on who you're spending your time around. That was, I think, the biggest thing that was holding me back. I was hanging out and spending time with people that were not pushing me and not motivating me to be what I wanted to become. I used to talk about modeling all the time, and everyone thought modeling was so stupid and the model industry is just trash and all this stuff. And I would just let people gaslight me for so long. And then in COVID, I started posting TikToks about doing photo shoots and modeling. And this was before I never had a modeling gig in my entire life. And I just started posting TikToks about modeling and photography. And I would say about 3 months into consistently posting TikToks about modeling, I got reached out to by Wilhelmina, top modeling agency. I'm pretty sure they have Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid. I think Bella Hadid might be signed to IMG now, but top modeling agency, top 3 in the world. And I got super excited. Flew down to Miami, did a whole collection or a whole photo shoot with them for my portfolio, got on Wilhelmina, did modeling seriously for about 6 months. And then my Instagram and my social media started growing more and more. And I was doing brand deals with other brands. I'm not going to tell what brands because no free marketing on this podcast, but started working with some top brands, and it was super exciting. But then I realized how much value I was bringing to all these brands. And I was like, I'm making so much money for all these brands. I'm spending so much time creating content for these brands, and I was making shit. I was working probably 20 hours a week, which is not that much, but I was only making maybe $200, $300 per thing I was creating. So, and I would get like one a week. So I was making no money whatsoever, but it was super fun. And then I was like, okay, well, COVID lasted longer than we thought. So then we moved to another house. That was when I was like, okay, I really want to start a business. So I mapped out a couple ideas, and I went with my favorite one, which was, you probably already know, spoon rings. And my buddy in high school used to do this. And so I saw him always making rings for people in the school. And I kept telling him, I was like, you need to create a website. Like this whole thing of spoon rings would do so well online. Like, I know for a fact you would kill it on a website. And I called him up and I was like, dude, do you mind if I like start making rings and basically creating a online store? Cause he was the one that taught me. I just felt like it was right to call him. So I called him and I was like, dude, I want to really create this. I want to turn this into a website and market this online. And at this point I had about 500,000 followers from like my modeling and stuff. And I was like, I want to start a business. So yerba mate break. That is the only free advertising I will do. Yerba mate. This shit is gas. So good. Hit me up. Let's work together. Yerba mate. I would love. I literally spend so much money on yerba mates. I get one a day. I think I have a case of 30 that comes every month. So good. Okay. So back to it. So September-ish 2020. So then I ordered about $250, maybe $500 worth of equipment. I was like, okay, I'm just going to start posting TikToks, because at this time I was done with modeling. I was so sick of it. The whole industry, that's a whole nother story for another day, but modeling industry, not the vibe. Friends were right on that one. But so I ordered this gear and I was like, I'm going to film a TikTok about figuring it out. So I literally had no idea what I was doing. I bent a spoon into a ring, and it got about 250,000 views. And I was like, no way. Cause all my content was like dying off at that point. I had probably 5,000, 10,000 views per video. That's kind of why I gave up again. And that's why I was like, hey, I'm going to start a business. Got 250,000 views. And then Anna Shoemate commented on it and she was like, I need one of these, blah, 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 blah. So then I made a video making a ring for Anna Shoemate, and that one blew up, and Vinny Hacker commented on that. So then I made a video about making a spoon ring for Vinny Hacker, and then that one blew up. Noah Beck commented on that one, made a ring for Noah Beck. James Charles commented on that one, made a ring for James Charles. Controversial topic. So yeah, that's really initially how the brand took off. Was influencers after influencers kept commenting on my posts, and I just kept making rings for them. Not sustainable, but it was a fun point of my life. Literally, I was working about 70 hours a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes even into 5 a.m. I would be packing orders. And so I did my first collection after Vinny Hacker commented. When I filmed that first video, I didn't even have a website set up. Like, I was just figuring out how to use the stuff. So within 1 week, I created the website. I bought equipment to film more TikToks with all this gear. I ordered packaging. I tried to create a logo, ended up buying a stamp online, priority shipping on the stamp, just so I could stamp the recycled packaging and whatnot. It was pretty sick. If you bought one of the first like 200 rings, you remember the packaging. It was like, it had this like round dome shape to it, and then it curved inward. It was really cool. And I had this logo I whipped up in like 10 minutes, ordered that. So then I had a collection. I had a drop within 1 week from posting my first TikTok, because I was like, I have to get this out. The rings are viral right now. I got to get this out to the world. I did my first drop, about 26 rings, sold out in like 5 minutes. I was so pumped. Packaged them up, shipped them off the same day, was so excited. And then I was like, hey, well, let's start working on the next collection. And so I kept working. And then we did the next collection, about 50 rings. At this time, I was having them custom made. So I would take a picture of the spoon, and then I would post it to my website. I'd have a launch. People would, on the like notes section at checkout, they would comment what size they wanted the ring to be made, which was so unsustainable, because then we sold out 50 rings in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then in about 1 day, 2 days, we had to make 50 rings custom made to each person's size. It was horrible, but it was super exciting, because those days we would literally just work all night long. So after doing that for about 3 drops, I was like, okay, this is not sustainable at all. What if we get the same design, like the same pattern on all the spoons? Go find that on wherever, really, mainly like thrift shops, antique shops, eBay, Depop, literally everywhere you can think of, we bought spoons from. We would try and rack up about 20 of the same design and turn that into a product and pre-make all the rings for the collection, have them all ready so that we could ship them out the next morning. So then we did our biggest drop. We pre-made, I think, I can't even remember how many we pre-made. Probably pre-made 2,000 rings. Took us about 2 weeks to make. This one was the craziest drop. Still to this day was the biggest drop ever. It was because Noah Beck and James Charles both tagged me on their story the same day of the drop. So the rings that I shipped to them, they both got the rings the same exact day, that Sunday, tagged me on their story like an hour before the drop. We had 4,500 people on the website, sold out the entire website in 13 minutes. Like literally 2,000 rings. It was absolutely crazy. I was shaking the entire time. And then from then I was like, hey, let's just keep making more rings. And then finally I was like, hey, I want to start designing my own rings. And now if you've seen, we don't sell spoon rings anymore. We actually do have a mystery spoon ring, but we do not sell spoon rings anymore just because it just does not work for it. It's too hard to keep up with the supply and the demand. And honestly, after a while of doing that over and over and over again, and I hired a couple friends to do it with me, it just got so exhausting and it was just taking away from my mental health. And I was like, I'm not going to let my business, like what I created for the sole purpose of creating enjoyment, financial freedom, being able to travel the world, I'm not going to let that take away from my mental health. You see the comments, like a lot of people are still like, oh, you should do spoon rings. Like that's the start of your brand. And I'm like, no, like literally I'd rather die than do spoon rings again. Okay, that's an exaggeration. I actually do love spoon rings. I love creating them. Every once in a while, I'll have a friend come over and we'll make spoon rings. But on the masses, it just does not work. Another year of a mate break. So good. So yeah. And then as that happened, I just kept growing the company and growing it bigger and bigger, using social media to market it. Now we're here doing a podcast about how I created the brand. Never actually thought I'd actually end up creating a podcast, but that's pretty cool. Now that you kind of understand where I came from, I want to create as much value as I can in this podcast and give as much information from other people that I'm going to interview that come on and like talk about how they got to that point. Because a lot of people, like, they might see where the brand's at, or they might like see where my social media is at, and they see the end result. They might have not been through the whole process. Even like Prada, the other day, I was like, how the hell is Prada this big? Like, so I looked it up and it was such a fascinating story. And it really just comes down to very passionate people. So one big thing though, if you are getting into that mental state, or you are already in that mental state where you want to achieve something, or you've thought about maybe it's an app you've wanted to create, or maybe it's a world travel YouTuber, or you want to literally anything, but you just feel like you can't get there, start off with just getting yourself to believe that you can do it. Say you want $1 million. A lot of people don't believe they can, one, that they're worthy to have $1 million, or two, that they are smart enough, cool enough, good looking enough to have $1 million. People undervalue. I've met so many people. I've met such passionate, smart people, but they undervalue the value they create to society. And so you might say you want something, but you're not actively putting the work in, or you don't actually believe that that can actually happen to you. So to start off, the biggest thing is getting yourself to believe that it's actually possible. The way I did this, and I've done this for the past 2 years, is manifestations. If you don't know what manifestations, finish this video and then go look up what manifestations is. The way I like to do manifestations is you write something out and you repeat it back to yourself, or you put it on a sticky note, you put it on your mirror, you repeat it back to yourself as if it's already happened. So you write down on your mirror, write down on a sticky note, I have a Lamborghini. Okay, we'll just use a Lamborghini for this sense. Write that down as if it's already happened. That is the biggest thing about manifestations, because what you're doing with manifestations is you're tricking your mind into believing that you have it, because, and not really, obviously you're never going to be like, oh, I have a Lamborghini in the garage. Like, that's not how it works. But what you're doing is, the more you keep telling yourself you have a Lamborghini, now your mind is up to date that you have a Lamborghini. You have a Lamborghini. It's just not in the garage yet. So mentally you will have a Lamborghini. And now it's so much easier to actually like go out and get the Lamborghini. The thing that actually helped me get to where I wanted to be was writing down 15 manifestations on sticky notes, putting them on my mirror so I saw them every day. I read them every single day. Some of them were crazy. Like, this was back when I had like 500,000 followers or whatnot. I said, I'm grateful that I have 1 million followers. I said, I'm grateful that I have scaled my business to, I think it was like 50K a month. So I spoke all these manifestations as if it's already happened. Honestly, when I wrote them down, some of them I did not believe could happen. Those are the best manifestations, because what you're going to do is every day you're going to read those back to yourself, and you're talking to yourself as if it's already happened. Trust me, in about 2 weeks, put a manifestation up that you have 20K in your bank account. Okay. Say that's your manifestation. I'm grateful I have 20K in my bank account. That's one of your manifestations on your sticky notes on your mirror. Say you write that down. Say you don't believe that it's actually going to happen, or you're skeptical that, whatever, I'm just writing this down because Pierce Woodward said to. Then in 2 weeks after you've seen that over and over again, your mind starts to catch up, and then your reality starts to catch up, and an opportunity starts to approach you where it's like, hey, we're going to pay you $8,000 a month. Say, okay, cool. I can save $5,000 of that. Okay. In 4 months, all of a sudden you had 20K saved up in your bank account. One thing though, people get mixed up with manifestations is, yes, they work, but manifestations only work if you're willing to put the work in. That's it. That's as simple as it will get. I wrote down these manifestations because I was willing to put the work in. It's more of a reminder than it is you're putting it out in the universe and it's magically going to come to you. You have to put work in. If you want results, you're going to have to put work in. That's just this simple reality to life. But the work becomes a lot less stressful when you believe it can happen. If you're about to go start a tech company and you didn't believe that you could start a tech company, the tech company is going to take you either forever or it's never actually going to succeed because you don't believe that it's actually possible. I see a lot of people, they want to do something, but they don't believe it's either they deserve it or they can do it. On that note, after this video, find some sticky notes, write down things that you want. This could literally be anything. It doesn't even have to be material. Write down, I'm grateful I have a successful relationship, or I'm grateful I have a loving wife. I'm grateful I have a loving girlfriend, loving boyfriend, whatsoever. I'm grateful that I'm able to live on my own. I'm grateful, whatever you don't have, but you want, write that down as if it's already happened. I would recommend about 10 to 15, put them on your mirror. And then when that does happen, if it takes you 1 month, if it takes you 1 year, if it takes you 3 years, keep it on your mirror, keep it as a reminder. And once it does happen, take the sticky note, move it to the right side of the mirror, and then fill that spot back in. So write something new. So say your goal was to save up 10 grand to buy that car that you wanted. Okay, now your goal can be, I'm grateful I've saved up 50 grand to buy my dream car. So just keep updating your manifestations. I failed miserably when I didn't do this. I had those 15 manifestations I was talking about. I accomplished all of them in first year of putting my manifestations up. But as soon as I accomplished one, I didn't fill the spot back in. So a year went by, finished all of the manifestations. They literally happened. I actually, to this day, am blown away that all 15 happened. And then I didn't fill the spots back in. I actually got more depressed than I've ever been in my entire life because I had nothing that was inspiring me. I had nothing that was pushing me to go further or go after anything. So that is probably the most crucial thing, is fill that spot back in with what you wanted to do. So on that note, top 3 takeaways from this podcast episode. Manifest. Start manifesting today. If you're not already writing down what you want and actively putting it into the universe that's going to happen to you, start doing that. Number 2, stop giving a fuck what people think about you. That is the worst thing you can possibly do. It might take a while, but stop. Okay, I put this on my Instagram story the other day. This is the best way to put this into perspective. Stop taking judgment from people that you would not take advice from. Best thing that you could take away from this podcast. I could have probably been in this chair 2 years earlier than I am because I stopped doing what I loved because I let other people shit on what I was doing and shit on my dream. Stop letting people do that to you. They are not the people that want to see you succeed. Those are not the people you want to spend your time around. Stop spending your time around. Stop spending your energy around those types of people. Number 3, I didn't mention this before. Start reading some books. Start reading books that inspire you. Top 3 books. Think and Grow Rich. That one's a classic. Like a lot of people that are watching this have probably read Think and Grow Rich. Second one, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That one changed my entire life. Ooh, third one. My third book recommendation, I would probably have to go with Alchemist is really good. That one's more of a parable book, if you will. That one's really good. I have a ton of good marketing books. Made to Stick is a really good book. But yeah, that's what I would take away from this podcast. I am going to be doing episodes weekly, and after this episode, I might do one more episode alone, but after this episode, I'm going to have people come on weekly, and I've already reached out to a ton of really cool people. I'm not going to give their names away yet, but trust me, soon you will see podcast episodes with tons of people that you've probably seen on all sorts of different topics of the world. But comment on this video on what type of people you want to see, or honestly, if you have specific people you would love to see on this podcast, I am more than willing to reach out to them. So comment on this. Let me know what you think. If you're listening to this on Spotify or you're listening to this on Apple Music, this is also posted on YouTube. Go check it out and comment what you want to see. That being said, thank you for watching the first episode of Behind the Dream. This has been a blast. I'm so excited. This has been a passion of mine forever. I've wanted to start a podcast forever. And I really want to interview some really cool people. I want to create as much value and knowledge to bring to the table as possible. So seriously, join back next week. I'm hoping to interview people. I'm heading out to LA tomorrow, hoping to interview some really cool people. I might do a whole collection. I might interview 10 people and get 5-minute clips and then just put them all into a one podcast episode. I think that'll be really cool because I already have a ton of people that I'm going to see in LA. So should be really cool. Thank you for watching Behind the Dream with Pierce Woodward. I'll see you next week. Peace out. Yeah, you know how we do.